Dark Night of the Soul. By St. John the Cross. Book 1. Chapter 7. The Imperfections of Spiritual Envy and Sloth. 1. As for the other two vices, spiritual envy and sloth, these beginners also have many imperfections. In regard to envy, many of them feel sad about the spiritual good of others and experience sensible grief, in noting that their neighbor is ahead of them on the road to perfection, and they do not want to hear others praised. Learning of the virtues of others makes them sad. They cannot bear to hear others being praised without contradicting and undoing these compliments as much as possible. Their annoyance grows, because they themselves do not receive these plaudits, and because they long for preference in everything. All of this is contrary to charity, which, as St. Paul says, rejoices in the truth, 1 Corinthians 13:6. If any envy accompanies charity, it is a holy envy by which they become sad, at not having the virtues of others, rejoice that others have them, and are happy that all others are ahead of them, in the service of God, since they themselves are so wanting in His service. 2. Also, regarding spiritual sloth, these beginners usually become weary in exercises that are more spiritual, and flee from them, since these exercises are contrary to sensory satisfaction. Since they are so used to finding delight in spiritual practices, they become bored when they do not find it. If they do not receive in prayer the satisfaction they crave, for after all, it is fit that God withdraw this so as to try them, they do not want to return to it, or at times, they either give up prayer or go to it begrudgingly. Because of their sloth, they subordinate the way of perfection, which requires denying one's own will, and satisfaction for God, to the pleasure and delight of their own will. As a result, they strive to satisfy their own will rather than God's. 3. Many of these beginners want God to desire what they want, and they become sad if they have to desire God's will. They feel an aversion toward adapting their will to God's. Hence, they frequently believe that what is not their will, or brings them no satisfaction, is not God's will, and, on the other hand, that if they are satisfied, God is too. They measure God by themselves and not themselves by God, which is in opposition to His teaching in the Gospel, that those who lose their life for His sake, will gain it, and those who desire to gain it will lose it. Matthew 16:25. 4. Beginners also become bored when told to do something unpleasant. Because they look for spiritual gratifications and delights, they are extremely lax in the fortitude and labor perfection demands. Like those who are reared in luxury, they run sadly from everything rough, and they are scandalized by the cross, in which spiritual delights are found. And in the more spiritual exercises their boredom is greater. Since they expect to go about in spiritual matters according to the whims and satisfactions of their own will, entering by the narrow way of life, about which Christ speaks, is saddening and repugnant to them. Matthew 7:14. 5. It is enough to have referred to the many imperfections of those who live in this beginner's state, to see their need for God, to put them into the state of proficience. He does this by introducing them into the dark night, of which we will now speak. There, through pure dryness and interior darkness, He weans them from the breasts of these gratifications and delights, takes away all these trivialities and childish ways, and makes them acquire the virtues by very different means. No matter how earnestly beginners in all their actions and passions practice the mortification of self, they will never be able to do so entirely, far from it, until God accomplishes it, in them, passively by means of the purgation of this night. May God be pleased to give me His divine light, that I may say something worthwhile about this subject, for in a night so dark and a matter so difficult to treat and expound, His enlightenment is very necessary. The verse, then, is one dark night. Next video, Chapter 8. Thanks.